Hi, my name is Jamieboo with the Lola and Mildred Furniture Company, and today we're going to show you how we built this industrial live edge slab hat rack. Stick around.
Before we get started, here's a list of the products we used. Go ahead and hit the pause button if you want to take a closer look at the list. Also, check the description for more information. To start off, we made a cardboard template of the slab. We simply put a large piece of cardboard underneath the slab and traced the shape with a marker. Then we pulled the cardboard template from underneath the slab and moved it to the bedroom. We used a cheap pair of scissors because of course we couldn't find the nice pair to cut out the template. Mildred was more than happy to assist. We used green tape to mark the studs on the wall. We have a reliable stud finder, but currently it's loaned out to a buddy. Luckily for us, we know where the studs are because of a previous pipe shelf install. Once you locate a stud, you can usually find another stud just using a tape measurer. In our house, the studs are 16 inches apart. On most tape measurers, multiples of 16 are highlighted in red to mark stud locations. Google tells me most houses have studs that are either 16 or 24 inches apart. One of the benefits of homemade furniture is you can often mount the project directly to studs with a little bit of preparation. We held the template in place, taped it to the wall, marked the studs with green tape, and drove in some screws to make sure our markings were accurate. We took the template to the shop and marked the width of the template on the slab. We used a framing square in hopes of making a 90-degree line, but since the slab isn't square at all, we just eyeballed it. We set the slab on the miter saw station, aligned the blade with our cut line, and cut as much of the slab as we could. We flipped the slab and finished the cut. We placed the slab on butcher block scraps on top of the workbench, and we used a grinder with a flap disc to clean up the wood. To the best of my knowledge, there aren't any flap discs that are specifically designed for wood. However, this 60 grit metal flap disc shaped and cleaned up the slab amazingly well. It was a lot of fun shaping wood with a flap disc, and we're looking forward to using flap discs again in future projects. We placed an 80 grit sanding belt on the belt sander and sanded the entire slab. Here we are unboxing a Milwaukee M18 battery operated random orbital sander. An 80 grit disc was included with the sander, so we'll start there. The machine glides over the workpiece and the experience is super satisfying. The only complaint we have is dust collection. It's terrible. Sawdust is everywhere. But even with awful dust collection, the smoothness and freedom of this cordless machine is amazing. We highly recommend this product. We sand the entire piece with both 120 and 220 grit discs, resulting in a buttery smooth finish. We really weren't sure how many hooks we wanted, so we bought enough fittings to make 8. We waited until we were able to place the assembled fittings on the workpiece to determine how many hooks we would have. To assemble the hooks, we used a black pipe floor flange as the base. We threaded a black pipe 45-degree street elbow into the flange. Then we threaded a close black steel nipple into the elbow. And finally, we topped the hook off with a black pipe cap. We placed our stud mark template behind the slab to recognize stud alignment. We settled on 7 staggered hooks resembling a 3-4 defense. This will allow us to screw into 4 studs and use our top row hooks to cover up the large lag screws. We moved the template onto the slab and covered up the studs with our 4 top row hooks. We traced the outline of each hook onto the template and determined the center of each circle by intersecting 2 lines. Then we drilled a pilot hole through our template and into the slab for each hook. We repeated the process and drilled 4 pilot holes across the slab. We unthreaded the hooks and centered each flange on the appropriate pilot hole. We centered each bottom row hook between the top row hooks and did our best to align the 3 hooks vertically. We spun off the hooks to get them out of the way, and we were careful to position all of the flanges with uniform orientation. Then we drilled pilot holes using a brad point bit. Started a Hex Head Lag Screw by hand. And drove them into the slab with an impact driver. We used an adapter so our impact could drive the lag screws in. We had a lot of drilling and driving to do here. 4 bolts for each flange, 7 flanges, for a total of 28 bolts. We took a little break so Mildred could get some well-deserved attention, and unscrewed all the screws we just drove in. We placed all of the flanges in a paint container. We then unthreaded the hooks and dropped all of the components into the container. We dumped acetone into the tin and allowed the fittings to marinate. The acetone will break down the greasy coating on the iron pipe pieces. We lightly sanded the slab again with 220 grit to clean up any marks from drilling and driving. Then, after about an hour bath, we used a rag and wiped each component clean. I probably should have doubled up or at least changed my gloves at halftime. The acetone ate up my gloves. A few hours ago, we drilled a bunch of holes into scrap wood and placed the lag screws into the holes. Then we spray painted all of the screws. Now it's time to cover the screws with a second coat of spray paint. We coated all of the pipe components with paste wax to reduce the likelihood of the pieces rusting. We've done a few iron pipe projects in the past and none of them have rusted so far. This process isn't fun at all, but we believe it's a necessary, boring step. We wipe down the slab with a tack cloth to remove as much dust as possible prior to staining. Next, we applied pre-stain, aka wood conditioner, to the slab. We used a blue shop towel and coated the entire piece. Some people say it is a waste of time and money, but we are big believers in pre-stain and use it on all types of wood, both hard and soft. We let the wood conditioner sit for a few minutes and wiped off the excess with a rag. Mildred decided to take a nap while we applied stain to the slab. We're spreading early American flavor Varathane premium stain with a blue shop towel. Then, after about 5 minutes, we're wiping off any excess with a rag. Thoroughly wiping off excess is the key to a quality finish. Usually we like to apply multiple coats of stain, but we decided to only apply 1 coat because the wood grain was looking absolutely amazing. Earlier in the project, we used a thickness caliper we recently ordered to determine the slab was a hair over 2 inches thick. We decided to use 3-inch power lag screws to secure the rack to the wall. We selected a Forstner bit to match the screw's head size so we could countersink the screw. We made a mental note of how far we needed to drill into the slab to penetrate the wood a ½ inch. Then we went ahead and did our best to drill a ½ inch recess. After we countersunk all 4 holes, we used a small drill bit to drill a pilot hole for the power lags. Finally, we tested everything out by using an impact with a T25 starbit to drive a power lag into the slab. We propped the project up on butcher block scraps so we didn't drill into the workbench. We blew off all of the debris and wiped down the slab before applying a top coat. We used a foam brush to apply a coat of high gloss Olympic brand polyurethane to the slab. We usually use Varathane poly, but the store was out of it. Supplies have been super limited due to the coronavirus. We were pleasantly surprised by the quality of this polyurethane, and it has become our new favorite brand. We used a heat gun to pop any bubbles, and it worked okay, but I think we need to invest in a plumber's torch to properly get rid of the bubbles. After only one coat of polyurethane, the slab was looking fantastic. Before we applied a second coat of polyurethane, we used ultra-fine 400 grit sandpaper to prepare the slab. We cut a piece of foam from packaging that was used to protect our truck bed cover during shipping to act as a bendable sanding block, and we lightly sanded the entire slab. The flexible sander was especially handy in sanding the curves of the slab. We used to be scared to sand poly, but the hazy remnants easily wipe away with the tack cloth. We applied a second coat of poly and this time sanded with superfine 600 grit sandpaper. Then we applied a third and final coat of polyurethane. We didn't sand after the final coat because that would have left us with a hazy finish. After a few days, the polyurethane was dry, so we reattached all of the flanges and screwed in all of the hooks. We used a breaker bar, a smaller cousin of a pipe wrench, to tighten down the 3 hooks that we weren't going to remove when attaching the slab to the wall. And just like that, our project was finished. 7 black iron pipe hooks on a gorgeous slab of wood. Mildred gave a big hug to congratulate Jamieboo for a job well done. We waited 2 weeks and moved the project to the bedroom. Mildred showed us the way to the bedroom and we set the slab on the bed. We unscrewed the 4 hooks that are covering the pilot holes, marked the stud locations with green tape, and marked the slab pilot holes with green tape as well. Then we hoisted the slab onto the wall, made sure the tape aligned, and drove in a lag screw. We pre-drilled pilot holes and drove lag screws into the 3 remaining studs. Finally, we used the breaker wrench to tighten the 4 top row hooks. And that's it, we're all done. The Live Edge Industrial Pipe Hat Rack is complete. In our humble opinion, we believe this might be the coolest hat rack in the universe. Thanks for sticking around until the end of this video. Subscribe, like, and comment if you want to see more videos from the Lola and Mildred Furniture Company. It took a lot of convincing for Jamie to appear on camera, and she did a fantastic job. So please, send kind words her way.